Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family, back at it once again.
Yes, here we go again.
Okay, so some of you may or may not have heard rumors about an underground reptilian city underneath Los Angeles.
Well, I've never heard the rumors, but I can see it.
That's the difference with this channel. Because, we'll give you what everybody else has given you, but then we'll give you some different insight from Cindy's ability to remote view, and she's exceptional when it comes to her abilities. So, I'd mentioned this to her because I have my own impressions on what I've gotten, but I trust hers more than I trust my own. And it's fascinating to look at this, and so many things go together, right? We see this paper. This is from January 29th, 1934. Lizard People's Catacomb City Hunted. Wow. I mean, it's right here in the paper. There you go. Engineer sinks shaft under Fort Moore Hill to find maze of tunnels and priceless treasures of legendary inhabitants. We kid you not. And, I have seen prints like this. It gets harder to find them now than before. The same thing with Bigfoot, for instance. There have been a couple of times when they've had bodies. And way back, we're talking the 18-somethings, 1870s, 1880s. But they actually had bodies. Or they actually caught one alive, like Jaco, which you guys may or may not have heard of. I think I covered that in a video several years back. Busy Los Angeles, though little realizing it in the hustle and bustle of modern existence, stands above a lost city of catacombs filled with incalculable treasure and imperishable records of a race of humans further advanced intellectually and scientifically than even the highest type of present-day peoples, in the belief of G. Warren Schufelt, geophysical mining engineer now engaged in an attempt to wrest from the lost city deep in the earth below Fort Moore Hill the secrets of the lizard people of legendary fame in medicine lodges of the American Indians. And as we've shared, like our brother Raven over there in Cherokee Land, North Carolina, he shared with me, what he's been taught by his elders and stuff that he told me that they don't tell the outsiders. But yeah, they know all about this. They know all about the reptilian takeover of the planet. They know all about the fact that they actually brought the moon here. There's a lot more that the indigenous people understood that, to us it's just myth and legends, or we didn't even ever hear of some of the details that they have. So this is really fascinating. But when you think about it, I think it makes all perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's kind of like a case of as above, so below, because the things that they do down there are curiously like the things we do up here, except for more of in their own way, how they do things. Like when I was looking down there, I saw classes of, little reptilians at class, and they're teaching them how to use their mind as, I don't want to say a weapon, but they are teaching them how to use their mind as a control mechanism. And these beings are very, very efficient at that, and they're very powerful at using their mind to control humans.
Yeah, and it was interesting because you were talking about a technique that I learned from different magic traditions, but that I don't do because I wouldn't have the karmic repercussions of trying to control somebody else's minds, because, I believe in karma, law, cause, and effect, and I think it's very easy to start going down that negative slope, that slippery slope to soul destruction. But they obviously have no problem with trying to control people and trying to control their minds.
No, not at all. To them, it's to their benefit, and they don't see any harm in it, because to them it was given, this is a power given to them by source for them to be used. And in their world, it's used for good, and I don't know why. That's just what I'm getting. They use it for good, and
That's how they view it.
Yeah, thanks. That's how they view it, right?
Because they're furthering their agenda.
They are, and to them, that's a good thing.
And before we jump into more detail, realize too, like from LA to China Lake, there is a vast underground network. In China Lake, when you go over to there, you have the legend of some prospectors that fell through into a lost city that they discovered, and they saw Egyptian-looking artifacts, Tibetan-looking artifacts, and bodies of giants down there. And then that ends up being under the control of the United States Navy. The military takes it all over and takes control of that. Area 51, obviously there's underground tunnels there. There's tremendous structures underground there. It's probably so massive we can't comprehend it. And you have gotten that Area 51 is under the control of some Greys.
Yeah, that's under control of Greys, mostly Greys. If you can say small Greys, tall Greys, but that area is just so, I don't know, there's like a death to it, like everything that's under there is not truly alive.
Whereas now you saw that the LA to China Lake area was under control of these reptilians.
Right. It does have a different feel. It has a different feel. And when I looked under there, they have beings that you would perceive as doctors, nurses. They have like a whole hustle and bustle thing. It really does look like an as above, so below type thing.
Perhaps we get our system from them.
That could very well be, yes.
So we have inherited that reptilian system. And then the ones that oversee everything is the Draco, which primarily they're more on 4D mostly, and some have the ability to go up to 5D. But most of them are on 4D.
Right. If you want to look at it at the polarity aspect, again, like 5D, you can say the 5D of the light, and there's 5D of the dark. So yeah, they can go in 5D in that sense.
So interesting that there's these different factions underneath there, and there are a lot of Native American legends that talk about these lizard people actually all over the world, So there's also Agartha and Shambhala, the legends of those inner earth cities, as well as Telosians. We've had interactions up there at Mount Shasta with them, and they are very, very benevolent. They feel, and they are Lemurian energy. Big, tall, Nordic-looking beings, about 8 feet tall, I would say, right?
Yeah, they're pretty big and like broad-shouldered, and yeah.
But great energy and benevolent. But then even up there in Shasta, we did feel some draconian energy too. It was kind of surprising.
It was surprising, just to walk down the road and like, boom, it makes me wonder, maybe there was just a Draco cloaked standing there, but it was sure obvious, the change.
I think the thing for people to realize is we're not alone. We haven't ever been alone on this planet or in the planet, I mean, look at all the legends of inner earth in just the mythology, the realm of Vulcan and stuff. We could get into all these, the underworld, right? It's universal. And so here you have, and it would make sense too, because think about the loosh that could be created in a big city like Los Angeles.
It could be, and they could really, since they do know how to manipulate energy in that sense, that could be just like a candy store to them.
Yeah, and over time, there's been a lot of stories about this with these big rooms and gold and these different beings that strange people live under the site of Los Angeles 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, see, I mean, that's quite a while ago.
And I don't know if it was Sylvia, I'm trying to remember who it was, or maybe it was Arizona Raven that said, because we brought up the Anunnaki of the Hopi, which means ant friends, ant people. Now, since we've been in the Four Corners area and we've been over by Hopi land, we've had contact with them, and they are benevolent beings. Those are. Again, Anunnaki is more of a generic term. It's a bigger term. Many different other races involved in that term, so to speak. But yeah, the ant people are benevolent. They help people escape the cataclysms up above and brought them inside the earth.
Mm-hmm. They sure did. And, that's a good thing. And as we were talking, I was getting that some of these reptilians that are below LA, they actually try to help people with their mind. Because like I was saying earlier, or on another video, all of our heart chakras are getting bigger. And that, when I say all, that means all. So everything is taking a big shift, a big change. So that's something else that they've been doing.
And, perhaps we haven't done a good enough job explaining this. This is the time when you got to work through S-H-I-T. You really do. You have to get rid of everything that no longer serves. Even these other entities, if they want to hold on to any sense of this reality, they're going to have major dramatic changes in vibrational frequency. Otherwise, they're not going to make it here. And they're going to end up themselves somewhere else, because the earth itself is ascending as we're going through this area with all the energies coming in. So this is why, these beings will be losing their grip. In about 10 years' time, they will no longer be able to maintain the control on the reality that they've been able to. And we have alluded to that with biblical scriptures, lo, the devil has, knows his time is short. Well, yeah, because even these quote-unquote devils, these other beings, whether they're cold-blooded or warm-blooded, if they don't work through it, if they don't rise up in vibration, then they're just not going to be able to exist on this particular plane of reality.
That's right. So everybody, needs to take a look at their life and see, okay, what no longer serves me. And then how do we do that with a planet full of traumatized people? And we do that by being forgiving and understanding.
Yeah, and there's inherent nature. There's things that we inherit in our genes, which we can, if they're abilities, we could utilize them to our advantage. Or sometimes there are things that need to be overcome. And sometimes there are things that need to just pass away. Like they might have been useful at one time, but now is a different time.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to look at it. And sometimes people need to maybe write that down to figure out what it is. But if you feel held back in life, chances are there's blocks in your heart chakra that you need to figure out and work through.
If we look at the mess upon the earth, and we see the way it's constant bickering, constant warring, constant fighting, at a time when we should be making massive greenhouses, getting ready to feed as many people as possible. Instead, all we do is have constant warfare going on, spending more money on that than everything else combined, pretty much. You can see factionalism and division is the name of the game. And then we go to Deuteronomy 32:8, which we had talked about in a previous video. And when it says the Most High God divvied the nations, you see that it's almost like, the earth is being divided up amongst different parties, different entities, perhaps even different races.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be that, but we're only shown one aspect of the whole picture.
So if you guys are in LA, you never know who you might be seeing down there if you open up a manhole cover. And again, these legends of these reptilian beings, I think that we could see it in our modern mythology as well as our ancient mythology. Vampires, right? And, Cindy was wondering, why don't they come up to the surface? And why are we on the surface and they're in there? And I said, well, maybe it has something to do with the sun. Maybe it has something to do with the energy from the sun, and that would be, especially in these times, kind of painful.
Right. It very well could be. And I didn't think of that. I was just thinking, okay, so if they're big and powerful, then why are they underground? And I was asking and I wasn't getting any answers. So that could be.
Yeah. And sometimes, she won't get answers. So this video is going to be coming up after the one we did on Quetzalcoatl. And, in that one of the things that I was trying to get at, and I asked straight out, is this the same being as Enki? And it was like blurred. So in the way you described it, it's like all of a sudden somebody puts their shields up and they're trying to cloak themselves because they don't want the info coming out.
That does happen when you ask and you get this little bit of a vibration to go by, just a little tiny bit. That basically says, yes, this being exists, but you're not getting any details.
Yeah, because, and then there's also stuff that we are not supposed to know in the bigger scheme of things because it would interfere with our human existence. Not saying that this particular thing is, though be aware of that. If you find yourselves down in the tunnels under LA, might want to avoid being in there to avoid being dinner.
Just watch your thoughts too.
But it is fascinating, all these different legends. As we know, the Hopi Indians in northern Arizona have traditions that recall a time when their snake brothers built and occupied underground cities in Arizona, California, Mexico, and Central America. And one such one is supposed to be built basically right under LA. Ooh. Yes, let me see if I could bring this up. It gets me thinking about this one picture that I was intending to use, but never used yet. But I was waiting to do a video to share it. This is off the coast of Malibu, and it's a seriously curious looking structure as it's taken its time coming up. Hopefully it's still there. There it is. This is off the coast of Malibu. And I mean, what do you make of that? To me, that does not look natural. It almost looks like a landing pad, maybe, if this area, if it was the ice age, and this is all, out in the open. Entryways, they look too vertical. This all looks too symmetrical. Or maybe it's been an undersea base, for a while.
I mean, how could you look at that and not think, well, what was this? But look at those pillars. They're perfectly round and everything else about it.
Yeah, so this is curious, but perfect timing, I guess. We'll use it and talk about it with this. So, of course, we had the incident at Dulce, New Mexico. Phil Schneider shared with us while he was still amongst us, where he said there was a battle between the Greys and actually some Marines, in which many Marines lost their lives. The world is much more Star Wars-like than we can imagine.
Oh, indeed it is.
Yes. So very interesting stuff. I hope you guys found this interesting. Again, before we go, China Lake, there's been a whole bunch of quakes there. We had that big one. All sorts of rumors. There were all sorts of rumors of underground battles there. We still see all these quakes. And over here in Tonopah, you got to wonder, because this Area 51 is like right over in here. Are they really quakes? Or are some of these actually little battles going on under there?
I don't know, but there's something kind of weird about it.
Sure is. So keep your eyes open. You never know who you might see popping up out of a sewer in LA.
Be safe and watch your thoughts.
Yes. So guys, thanks for being part of the family. Make sure you are subscribed with the bell clicked. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. And anybody needs to make an appointment with us, it's EEARTS at Proton Mail or evolutionaryenergyarts at gmail.com. And, thank you for your patience, too, because we're going to be on the road for a while now, but we're still seeing people.
Right, we are. Just take care.
God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.